Hey guys, my name's Jasmine.
I'm Anita.
And my name's Sydney.
We wanted to bring more awareness to the result of climate change on oceans because they are such an important part for our planet. Oceans make up about 70% of the Earth, yet we only know so much about the many living organisms that make up the ocean.
What we do know, however, is how important oceans are for all of us. Oceans produce over half of our oxygen, contain more than half of all life on Earth as well.
Oceans are so important for the world, yet due to climate change, they have been getting warmer and warmer. This is better known as ocean acidification. Because of this, many living organisms are now struggling to live in the oceans as the pH level is not good for them.
Many processes done by humans lead to an increase in greenhouse gas emissions. Fossil fuel burning and deforestation in particular are newer processes that have greatly increased the carbon dioxide output into the atmosphere. But they have not been countered by more efficient ways to increase the removal of greenhouse gases. The concentration of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere therefore increases through these processes. The ocean absorbs 30% of the carbon dioxide emissions, so as the level of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere increases, so does the level in the ocean. So 70% would stay in the atmosphere. Keep in mind that the average atmospheric lifetime of carbon dioxide is around a decade. However, this does not remove the carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. The carbon dioxide is only recycled. So the process of stirring carbon dioxide into the ocean takes around 1,000 years. When carbon dioxide is absorbed into the ocean, this increases the level of hydrogen ions in the water, making it more acidic and reducing the level of carbonate ions. Carbonate ions, however, make up the skeletons and shells of many marine organisms, so the reduction of carbonate ions weakens these structures, which makes the marine organisms more susceptible to death. This greatly shifts the food chains and ecosystem chemistry.
So many processes done by humans lead to an increase in GHG emissions, such as fossil fuel burning and deforestation. And fossil fuel emissions include like factory production and like cars. So these have increased the carbon dioxide output into the atmosphere, but they have not been countered by more efficient ways to increase the removal of the GHG. However, when carbon is stored in the ocean, it holds 50 times more carbon than the atmosphere. By burning fossil fuels and changing land use, human activities play a crucial role. This causes the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere to rise, making the ocean absorb much of the CO2, lowering the ocean's pH through ocean acidification. Ocean acidification is a term describing changes in which it changes the ocean's chemistry. When CO2 is absorbed by the ocean, it causes the seawater to produce acid. This in the end hurts residents such as coral reefs as well as the living organisms in the ocean. So the ocean carbon cycle, first we'll talk about the carbon cycle. So the carbon cycle, the carbon will enter the atmosphere from respiration and combustion, like from fossil fuel emissions. And from there, the CO2 is then absorbed by plants, which will use it to make glucose during photosynthesis. Then organisms such as animals will eat the plants, which then breaks it down to release energy. The carbon they consume is then exhaled as carbon dioxide. When these animals and plants eventually die, decomposers break down the dead organisms and return their carbon to their bodies to the atmosphere as carbon dioxide by respiration. And the cycle just goes around all over.
The increased ocean acidification affects ecosystems because it leads to species extinction if they cannot adapt or migrate fast enough. The most vulnerable ecosystems are coral reefs with little scope for adaptation. Coral bleaching is the loss of algae that live in a symbiotic relationship with the coral and give it color. This is linked to exceptionally hot ocean temperatures. Human-induced global warming will contribute to this. Coral reefs are important because they provide food for hundreds of millions of people, a defense barrier against tropical cyclones and tsunamis, and is a source of tourism income. The rise in the ocean's temperature leads to an increase in coral bleaching and infectious disease breaks out among the marine population. Along with that, the increased level of carbon dioxide in the ocean counters the classification rates in the ocean, reducing the structural integrity of the coral reefs, as well as the skeletons, shells, and other carbonate structures used to ensure marine organism survival.
Marine protected areas, or MPAs, are protected areas of seas, oceans, estuaries, or large lakes. They are proven to be effective in saving coral and fish and are of great economic benefit. However, they cannot protect coral from global warming, nor can they protect from the acidification effects of CO2. What needs to be done is to reduce or eliminate CO2 emissions, or at least sequester it before it escapes into the atmosphere. MPAs help with protecting the coral, but it does not help protect the ocean from the acidification.
According to the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, we must firstly lessen our carbon footprint in order to reduce our greenhouse gas output. This can be lessened by reducing, reusing, and recycling, as well as using public transportation, like bikes or other transportation services that are alternatives for driving. We can also use less water and use electronics rather than printing out everything as hard copies. Secondly, we can improve the overall condition of the coral reefs by cutting down the lawn and garden chemicals we use.
Thanks for watching!
Hope you enjoyed!
And don't forget, only we can save our planet now.